الحمد لله رب العالمين له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له يقول الحق وهو يهدي السبيل وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. My beloved brothers and sisters, inshallah ta'ala, we're in the tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha. Inshallah ta'ala, today we're going to take the ayah and the verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. We're just going to take ولا الضالين. And there's a lot to unpack from ولا الضالين inshallah ta'ala. And then we're going to start taking some ahkam and fawaid, some fawaid and ahkam that are in Surah Al-Fatiha inshallah ta'ala. The word ولا الضالين, the waw is عاطفة. It's connected to what was mentioned before. And the la here, it's must, and it's that I mentioned this. The la here ولا الضالين is مؤكدة, it's emphasis. Okay? لمعنى النفي المفهوم من غير. غير was mentioned before, which has a meaning of negation in it. The la here is emphasizing the meaning that is in غير المغضوب. غيري, it has in there معنى النفي المفهوم, a meaning of negation is being understood from it. That معنى المفهوم, or that نفي المفهوم, this la is emphasizing on that. And the reason why I'm making that clear is for two reasons. Number one, I don't want you to refer to this la as زائدة. لأن زائدة, it's not what you use for the Qur'an grammatically. You never call the Qur'an za'idah. If you say za'idah, it means if it's removed, the meaning will still stand correct. And the Qur'an is not like that, brothers and sisters. The Qur'an, every single letter, every single thing in there, letter, has an importance and a significance. Every haraka, every tashkil has a significance and an importance. You're not allowed to, in no way, shape or form, refer to the Qur'an as مثلا المبني للمجهول, for example, وخلق الإنسان ضعيفا. You can't say مبني للمجهول. That's maybe something you can say in grammar, but you can't say that when it comes to the Qur'an. There's an adab, etiquette, and a manners that you need to observe. Because when you say وخلق الإنسان ضعيفا, it means مبني للمجهول. You're saying that خلق is a verb. We don't know who did this action, but we know that. As Muslims, we know who created us. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you don't use that word مبني للمجهول, majhul, unknown. No, we say مفعول الذي لم يسمى فاعله, for example. And here, the things that you can normally say in Arabic grammar, this is za'idah and this is that, don't use those words when it comes to the Qur'an. The Qur'an, you don't refer to it as za'idah. You don't refer to it as what? Za'idah. But according to the Basriyin, grammatically, in a situation like this, they would refer to it as za'idah. That's why I'm saying don't refer to it in the Qur'an and say that the la here is za'idah i'raban. I don't say that. That's something you shouldn't say. It harms, it has a bad thing to it. But it's a mu'akkida, it's an emphasis. لمعنى النفي, the meaning of the negation, al-mafhumi, that's understood. من غير, it's a mu'akkida, it's an emphasis for that. Don't think to yourself. So that's the first. The second reason why I'm mentioning that it's a mu'akkida لمعنى النفي, لمعنى النفي المفهوم, is because I don't want you to think that the waw here is connected to Ad-Dāllīn. So لئلا يتوهم عطف الضالين, I do not want you to think that ولا الضالين is connected to الذين أنعمت عليهم, those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed. I don't want that. So that doesn't happen as well. It's important and it's a must. The Basriyin and the Kufiyin both agree that the waw here, the la here is mu'akkida, and قراءة عمر explains that as well when he said غير المغضوب عليهم وغير الضالين, he said. Umar used to read it like that. Hafidh ibn Kathir, he said rahimahullah ta'ala, والصحيح, what is authentic is من مذاهب العلماء, from the madhahib of the scholars, is أنه يغتفر الإخلال بتحرير ما بين الضاد والضاء لقرب مخرجيهما لمن لا يميز ذلك. The غير المغضوب عليهم ولا ضاد, if the person says it like a dha, okay, he said يغتفر, it's something that is overlooked. Okay, the reason is because the place where they both come from, the dad and the dha, ضالين, يعني ضالين or ضالين, he said لقرب مخرجيهما, they two makhraj is very close, but this is لمن لا يميز ذلك, so it's not like the meaning changes or it corrupts your prayer. والضالين, the word ضالين, it means جمع ضال, and الضال or الضلال is التيه والجهل والبعد عن الحق والعدول عن الطريق المستقيم والانحراف عن المنهج القويم. That's what ضالين means. It means التيه والجهل. It's when someone is confused and ignorant, and when somebody is far from the truth and is far from uprightness, and also the straight path. والانحراف, and also when the person is deviated عن المنهج القويم, the straight path. That's why the Arabs, they say ضل الطريق أي تاه وانحرف. كما يقال, as it's also said, ضال without any قرينة. Just say ضال, you can say that without any قرينة. When you say ضال مثلا بدون إضافة قرينة, without adding any قرينة to it, فالمراد به, the meaning in it is what? العدول عن طريق المستقيم. It is it's going away from the straight path, يعني طريق الحق. And sometimes even the word الضلال is sometimes referred to as النسيان, forgetting something. And that's what Allah mentioned in the Qur'an, أن تضل إحداهما فتذكر إحداهما الأخرى. Allah mentions أن تضل here means أن تنسى إحداهما, if one of them forgets. Also sometimes the word الضلال is referred to, and it's used for على الاختفاء وغياب الشيء, is when something is hidden. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said in Surah Sajdah, وقالوا أإذا ضللنا في الأرض أإنا لفي خلق جديد. What do they mean? وقالوا أإذا ضللنا, they mean أإذا غيبنا فيها وصرنا ترابا. If we are made absent, يعني غياب الشيء, when something is absent and it's not seen. That's the line of poetry that the poet who said لم تسأل فتخبرك الديار عن الركب المضلل أين صاروا. يعني it means الاختفاء وغياب الشيء. Here, what's the meaning by ضالين here? Here it means من فقدوا العلم, those who don't have knowledge. فتركوا الحق عن جهل, so they left the truth because of ignorance. وعبدوا الله, and they worshipped Allah على غير هدى, they worshipped also Allah with no guidance. وعلى غير بصيرة, and with no insight. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said in Surah Yunus, فماذا بعد الحق إلا الضلال. What is after truth except misguidance? And the first people that come, يعني في مقدمة الضالين, is النصارى. As the hadith of Adi ibn Hatim radiyallahu ta'ala anhu mentions, when the Prophet ﷺ explained وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, he said هُمُ النَّصَارَى. And the Nasara have been described in many places in the Qur'an. They've been referred to as ضلال في غير هذا الموضع, in other than this place in Surah Al-Fatiha. مثلا, if you go to Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said about them, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ لَا تَغْلُوا فِي دِينِكُمْ ولا تتبعوا أهواء قوم قد ضلوا من قبل وأضلوا كثيرا وضلوا عن سواء السبيل. You can see how many times Allah mentioned it about them. ولا تتبعوا أهواء قوم قد ضلوا من قبل وأضلوا كثيرا وضلوا عن سواء السبيل. لذلك Ibn Kathir, after he mentioned the tafsir of مغضوب عليهم by saying that it's the Jews, and then he said وَالضَّالِينَ is the Nasara. He said وقال ابن أبي حاتم, Ibn Kathir saying this, he said that Ibn Abi Hatim, okay, Abdulrahman ibn Abi Hatim said لا أعلم بين المفسرين في تأويل ذلك اختلافا. I don't know anyone from the scholars of tafsir who differed that المغضوب عليهم is the Yahud and ضالين is the Nasara. He said I don't know, لا أعلم بين المفسرين في تأويل ذلك اختلافا. I don't know any difference of opinion in this regard. So if the sabab of ضلال النصارى is fil asli, the asal of the misguidance of the Nasara, if it is in al-jahlu, is because of ignorance, then this time that we're living in, where many people have fallen into this ignorance and even stubbornness and consistency upon their way and following their desires, then they are also deserving of this as well. And also both of the Christians and the Jews now, both of them are maghdubi alayhim, and both of them are dallun as well. Both of them, al-Yahud wa Nasara, are maghdubi alayhim as well, and both of them are dallun. And everybody who doesn't have beneficial knowledge and worships Allah without any knowledge has a portion in that. And every single person who has knowledge but does not act upon it now has a portion of that as well. So it's not restricted only to them. Because the Yahud tarakul haqqa ba'da ma'rifati. They left the truth once they came to know it. The Jews, they recognized the truth, they knew that this was the truth, they understood this was the truth, and they chose not to follow it. They didn't want to follow it. And their hearts, as Allah Ta'ala has told us, it was darkened, and that's why anger was given to them. The Christians, like when the truth comes to them, or they recognize the truth, or ilm comes to them, they're a bit more receptive to it. And Allah Ta'ala told us in Surah Al-Ma'idah, لتجدن أشد الناس عداوة للذين آمنوا اليهود والذين أشركوا ولتجدن أقربهم مودة للذين آمنوا الذين قالوا إنا نصارى ذلك بأنهم قسيسين ورهبانا وأنهم لا يستكبرون. Allah said that you will find that the animosity of the Jews and those who are mushrikeen, idol worshippers, is worse. أشد الناس عداوة. They have the most animosity. وَلَتَجِدَنَّ, and you will find أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً, those who have more mercy and kind, لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, to the believers, the mu'minin, is who? الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى, it's the Christians. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ, because the reason is because amongst them is قِسِّيسِينَ وَرُهْبَانًا وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ, and they're generally not arrogant. ولذلك ابن القيم رحمه الله تعالى in his kitab بدائع الفوائد and his مدارج السالكين, he speaks about this issue. He says وَالْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ ضَالٌّ عَنْ هِدَايَةِ الْعَمَلِ. So they are misguided because they didn't follow the action. And the Christians, Allah is angry with them because they didn't learn the beneficial knowledge that they needed. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us, because this concept of these two things, which is beneficial knowledge and righteous action, any individual who worships Allah, the qa'idah is كُلُّ مَنْ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمٌ فَلَمْ يَعْمَلْ بِهِ, and follows his desires and goes against the religion of Allah whilst having knowledge and insight. The scholars, they mention this is فَفِيهِ شَبَهٌ مِنَ الْيَهُودِ, and he resembles the Jews. And also وَمُتَوَعَّدٌ بِالْغَضَبِ بِقَدْرِ مَعْصِيَتِهِ, and he gets the wrath of Allah in accordance to that sinning of his. وَلَهُ, and it's for that person, مِنْهُ نَصِيبٌ بِقَدْرِ مشابهة لهم. And he also has his portion in how much he follows them. And anybody who, وَكُلُّ مَنْ عَبَدَ اللَّهَ, anyone who worships Allah, عَلَى جَهْلٍ وَضَلَالٍ, he worships Allah with ignorance and misguidance. He doesn't have knowledge, he's just worshipping Allah. فَفِيهِ شَبَهٌ مِنَ النَّصَارَى, he resembles the Christians in that regard. وَمَوْصُوفٌ بِالضَّلَالِ عَلَى قَدْرِ مَعْصِيَتِهِ, and again he's going to be called a ضال in accordance to his sin. ولذلك سفيان said this رحمه الله, سفيان بن عيينة, من فسد من علمائنا, he said, ففيه شبه من اليهود, ومن فسد من عبادنا ففيه شبه من النصارى. Any one of our scholars who resembles the Jews, yani any scholar from amongst us who's corrupt is a resemblance of the Jews. And any worshipper of us who's corrupt, he resembles the Nasara. ولذلك this concept of التشبه باليهود والنصارى من هذه الأمة is large in number, as the Prophet told us, that we're going to resemble them a lot. We're going to start being like them. A Muslim he's got the Kitab and he's got the Sunnah and he wants to be ignorant like the Christians. Or he's attained knowledge when he was young. He was taught the Qur'an when he was young. He was taught Islamic studies when he was young. So he knows it. When he grows old, he chooses not to act upon it. There's a resemblance of the Jews in this issue as well. ولذلك the Prophet, he told us ﷺ, that we're going to resemble them in so many aspects in life. The Prophet told us, he said, لَتَتَّبِعَنَّ سَنَنَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ شِبْرًا بِشِبْرٍ وَذِرَاعًا بِذِرَاعٍ حتى لو دخلوا جحر ضب لاتبعتموهم قلنا يا رسول الله اليهود والنصارى قال فمن. The Prophet ﷺ in this powerful hadith, which Abi Sa'id al-Khudri is the narrator of the hadith, Bukhari mentions it in his Sahih, and Muslim also in his Sahih. Like it's hadith which is muttafaqun alayh, it's agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet, he said, you will follow the path of the Christians and the Jews, shibran bi shibrin, wa dhira'an bi dhira', step by step you will follow them. That if they go into a hole of a lizard, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, you will all follow them in going into the hole of the lizard. The Sahabas asked, Ya Rasulullah, who are these people that you're saying that we're going to follow them? Shibran bi shibrin wa dhira'an bi dhira', bit by bit, step by step, we're going to follow them. Are they the Christians and the Jews? The Prophet said, فَمَنْ, who else? Even the Prophet told us, alayhi salatu wasalam, افترقت اليهود على 71 فرقة وافترقت النصارى على 72 فرقة وستفترق هذه الأمة على 73 فرقة كلها في النار إلا واحدة قلنا من هي يا رسول الله قال من كان على مثل ما أنا عليه وأصحابي. In this hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, again this hadith Abu Dawood narrated in his Sunan, in the chapter of As-Sunnah. At-Tirmidhi narrated it in Kitab al-Īmān. And when he narrated it, he said it's hadith sahih. Ibn Majah also narrated this hadith في الكتاب الفتن. Okay, Ibn Majah. All of them, they narrated in hadith Abi Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. The Prophet here is telling us the Jews, they broke into 71 groups. The Jews. وَافْتَرَقَتِ النَّصَارَى, and the Christians, now they broke into 72 groups. وَسَتَفْتَرِقُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ, and this ummah will be divided into 73 groups. كُلُّهَا فِي النَّارِ, all of them are going to be in the hellfire, إِلَّا وَاحِدَةً, except one. قُلْنَا, we said, مَنْ هِيَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ, who is that one group that's going to make it? The Prophet, he said, simple. مَنْ كَانَ, anyone who is upon, عَلَى مِثْلِ مَا أَنَا عَلَيْهِ وَأَصْحَابِي, anyone who is upon that which I and my companions are upon, that person is the saved group. And then to be from the saved group, you have to come with this description. The description that you need to come with is you have to be upon that which Nabiullah Muhammad was upon. And you have to be upon that which his companions were upon. Any group that came about after the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, you need to stay away from those groups. Whether they're the Rafida, or the Khawarij, or the Murji'ah, or the Mu'tazila, or the Sufiyya, all the groups that went against the Prophet ﷺ's way and his companions' way, you have to stay away from them. You have to take your religion from what was done by the Prophet and his companions. Even in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ قَرْنِي, the best of people. The khayriyya here, the Prophet mentioned it mutlaqan, unrestrictedly. So the khayriyya, yani they're the best, is khayriyyatun in what? In their speech. Khayriyya in their knowledge. Khayriyya in their i'tiqad. And khayriyya in their actions. They're better than us in all those regards. So what you have to believe, what these people that the Prophet is referring to as the best of people, we have to follow them in their belief, what they believed, what they said, the knowledge that they had and they considered as knowledge, we should consider that as knowledge. The actions that they did and they came with, we consider that to be the actions that we want to come with. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, what? Khayrun nas, they're the best of people. Qarni, my generation. So that's him and his companions. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ, and then the tabi'ina. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُم, and those who come after that, which is atba'u tabi'ina. 3 golden generation he mentioned. We call them the golden generation. قُرُونُ الْمُفَضَّلَةِ, the most virtuous group is them. Those 3 golden generation. The Prophet's generation, which is him and his companions, and the tabi'ina, which are the students of the companions, and the atba'u tabi'ina. The 3 generation. We refer back to them in terms of knowledge, in terms of i'tiqad, in terms of amal, in terms of khuluq and characteristics and mannerism, everything. We look back at them. What were they upon? What were they like? Because the Prophet told us they're the most virtuous of people. If you want salvation, if you want to protect yourself, if you want to save yourself, my brother and my sister, and you want to enter Jannah, then remember this. The best of people are those. Allah was pleased with them. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, that's why he said, "Man kana mustannan falyastanna biman qad mat, fa inna al-hayya la tu'banu alayhi al-fitna." If you're going to hold on to someone, hold on to those who passed away. The ones who are alive, they can apostate. Wal-iyadhu billah. They can deviate. Wal-iyadhu billah. So you have to be very careful. You have to be very cautious in where you take your religion from. You should be very, very cautious of what you take from someone. Even if he's a righteous person and he's a good person and he's a person of khayr and his aqeedah is good, he might have bad manners. So you should be very careful. The Salaf Salih, they used to look at their person holistically. They would look at his knowledge. They would look at his actions. They would look at his belief. They would look at how he carried himself. Ay na'am. For days they would follow his prayer and how he prayed and etc. Everything. This is not a joke. This matter, this religion is your religion. You do not want to gamble with it. You don't go to a doctor who you think maybe he's a good doctor or a bad doctor. You make sure that you go to a doctor that doesn't play around with your body and doesn't inject you with the wrong things and doesn't do... That's why Muhammad ibn Sirin's statement is very profound and very powerful, where he said, إِنَّ هَذَا الْأَمْرَ دِينٌ فَانْظُرُوا عَمَّنْ تَأْخُذُونَ دِينَكُمْ. This matter is your religion. It's not your body, it's not your time. The most important thing, it's your religion. فَانْظُرُوا عَمَّنْ تَأْخُذُونَ دِينَكُمْ. So look at who you take your religion from. So you have to be very careful. You have to be very cautious. There has to be a lot of ta'anni and tarawwi. There has to be a lot of vigilance and carefulness on your behalf in where you take your religion from. You cannot gamble this deen. Okay, brothers and sisters. And you also need to make sure, brothers and sisters, in order to know مَنْ كَانَ عَلَى مِثْلِ مَا أَنَا عَلَيْهِ وَأَصْحَابِي, to be upon that which the Prophet and his companions were upon. Wallahi, there is no way that you can know what the Prophet and his companions were upon إِلَّا بِالْإِسْنَادِ, except with a chain. Meaning, you have to go to the books where there are athar, there are asani, chains that bring you back to what the Prophet and his companions were upon. That's exactly what Abu al-Qasim al-Taymiyyah said in his Kitab al-Hujjah fi Bayan al-Mahajjah. That when he came to Man kana ala mithli ma ana alayhi wa ashabi, he mentioned that the people we go to know that which the Prophet and his companions were upon is the people of Isnad, the people of Hadith. We go back to them, they'll tell us. They'll say the Prophet was used to do this, the Prophet was like this. That's why when we read the books of Hadith, we know what the Prophet was upon. We go to the books of Musannaf ibn Abi Shaybah, Musannaf Abdul Razzaq. We go to these books, we see what the Sahabas were upon and what the Sahabas used to do. You don't find that out from someone who doesn't know Hadith, or is not equipped with Hadith, or has never read Hadith, or belittles the concept of the Hadith and he says all Hadith is said, akhbarana, ba'ana, all that. So everything, the first question you ask yourself, لو كان خيرا لسبقونا إليه. If there was khair in this thing, because they're the best of people, right? If this thing is good, the best of people would have done the best thing that you're saying is the best thing. If they didn't do it and they left it, then ألا يسعنا, does it not suffice us ما وسعهم, that which sufficed them? Is it not enough for us what was enough for them? Huh? And do you think, really, honestly, that you love Allah and His Messenger more than Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali? Do you think you do? No, you can't. No, you don't. These people, Allah selected them. You and I were not selected. They were selected by Allah to be around Nabi Muhammad. They were selected, they were chosen. They were honored to see the best man to ever walk on this earth. You and I were not given that option and that chance. Why? Because of the filthiness and the evilness within us and how we're not qualified. But they were qualified. They were noble. They were righteous. They were pure. They were honest. They were genuine. They were sincere. They were all of the qualities. And so Allah took them and surrounded them and put them around Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. The same way Allah selected Nabi Muhammad salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. And then, my brothers and sisters, that is now what I just explained to you and I just gave you the understanding of. That is what Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah means. That is what Ahlul Athar means. That is what Ahlul Hadith means. That is what Ta'ifatul Mansura means. That is what Al-Firqatul Najiyah is. That is what is meant or used for As-Salafiyun. That's all of those things are synonymous to each other. Salafi means I am upon ma kana alayhi, that which he was upon, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ashabuhu, and his companions. I am upon what the Prophet was upon. How are you upon what the Prophet is upon? Ilman, knowledge-wise. You can't select what you want to follow the Prophet in and his companions or the Salaf al-Salih. You said you're a Salafi, alhamdulillah, فَنِعِمَّاهِ. What a great thing that you have attributed yourself to. You're attributing yourself to the golden generation. What a good thing. But we're going to now look at this claim of yours. We're going to look at it. Just like if anybody claims anything in life, we'll see. Is it right he's claiming or is it not? If Allah is saying, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ. A person saying, I'm a believer, will not just be accepted from him. It will be tested. That statement of yours, I'm a believer. Okay, let's see if you are. You thought Allah is just going to allow you just to say, I'm a believer and not test you? You will be tested. Just like those before you have been tested. Salafiyya, my brothers and sisters, is the pure essence of Islam. The Islam that we call ourselves Muslims, right? It got tainted. Islam, the religion, was tainted by people. They tainted the concept of this beautiful religion. They tainted it. So what happened? In order to protect, to mention the pure version that was not tainted, that was not diluted, is what Salafiyya is. It is what Ahlul Hadith is Firqatul Najiyah, Ta'ifatul Mansura. So calling yourself by these names, beautiful thing. For a person to call himself a Salafi, very good thing. MashaAllah. There's no shame on him. He can call himself it. It's nice to call yourself it. There's no problem with that. The problem is, this statement is a claim. You're claiming something. You now need to be following the Salaf that you attribute yourself to what? Ilman, knowledge-wise. You can't be jahil and ignorant because they weren't ignorant and everything. So you need to work towards following them. Are you going to reach their level? La, abadan, you're not. But you're going to die trying. So you're gaining knowledge. That's one. Ilman. Wa-amalan. Action. What they did is what you're trying to do. The Salaf, they did things. Every day you're ticking off. They did this. The Prophet did this. His companions did this. The Tabi'ina did this. Ba'u Tabi'ina. So ilman, wa amalan, wa i'tiqadan, their belief. The belief that they had and what they believed when it came to Allah's names and attributes. What they believed regarding iman, kufr, these terms which are called al-asma' wal-ahkam. What did they believe about it? You have to know it. You can't loosely do takfir of people and say Fulan's a kafir, Fulan's a kafir, Fulan's a kafir. This ruler is a kafir, that country is a kafir. Loosely using the term kufr on every and anybody. But you can't also be the other extreme, which is what? Someone who Allah and His messenger made a kafir. وَكَفَّرُوهُمْ and they made them kuffar. You can't try to bring them into Islam and say they're not Christian, they're not kuffar. The Christians are not kuffar. You can't. Allah made them disbelievers. The messenger made them disbelievers. Those people, we have to believe what Allah and His messenger said about them. Are we all together? The term bid'ah, the Salaf used it. They used it correctly. They used it in its place. They follow the conditions and the prerequisites that were needed, the shurut and the mawani and everything. They observed that. If you're following the Salaf, you have to follow the way that they were doing it. And in the context that they were doing it. And in the situation that they were doing it in it. But to take their statements and you separate it from the situation and the context and everything that they said it in, is not following the Salaf. Whether you claim it ala al-manabiri on the pulpit, or you say it on the microphone, we'll say to you, you're not following the Salaf in this matter. ولذلك, one of the things that the Salaf were not known to have is ghulu. They were never extreme. They were never extreme. Ifrat or tafrit. They were not extreme in exaggeration and they were not extreme in negligence. They were always in the middle. النمط الأوسط. They were in the middle. وكذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا. They were on that upright path. If you're following the Salaf in this, if you're following the Salaf, you have to follow them in their i'tiqad and what they believed. What they mention in their books of Aqeedah. When you open the books of Aqeedah and you study them, these things is things that Salaf al-Salih Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een believed in. So you open in Usul al-Sunnah al-Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. You open Kutub al-Aqeedah, which is Sharh al-Sunnah by al-Kirmani مثلا. Or Sharh al-Sunnah by al-Imam Kirmani's kitab is Kitab al-Sunnah. Sharh al-Sunnah al-Imam al-Muzani rahimahullah ta'ala. اعتقاد أئمة الحديث by al-Ismaili. اعتقاد السلف وأصحاب الحديث by الإمام الصابوني. You have the kitab الحجة في بيان المحجة by Abu al-Qasim al-Taymi. You have the kitab al-Sharia by الإمام الأجري رحمه الله تعالى. You have the kitab Aqeedah of Abdul Ghani ibn Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi رحمه الله تعالى. صاحب كتاب عمدة الأحكام. You have the kitab Wasatiyya by Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymi, if you come down, Yani these are all books that were written about the belief of and the Aqeedah of the Salaf al-Salih, Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in. You get all of those books of Aqeedah. You look at them, you observe them, and all those Aqeedah are sometimes mujmal al-Aqeedah, general issues of Aqeedah. Some of them is mufassal, is more detailed. Such as, for example, some of them just focus on one aspect and they write a book on it, like Kitab al-Sifat by Imam Ad-Dāllīn rahimahullah ta'ala, or Kitab al-Ru'ya, or Kitab al-Ru'a, where Ad-Dāllīn authored, where he speaks about the seeing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So sometimes a specific issue they would write it on. All of these things, my brothers and sisters, is Aqeedah to Salaf wa Ashab al-Hadith. It's the Aqeedah of the people of the Sunnah. You need to learn them and read them. But you also have to, my brothers and sisters, look at them from the fourth aspect, which is the akhlaq and the manners and the etiquettes of the Salaf al-Salih. You can't leave off books of adab. A lot of the times you find at the ending of some of the books of Aqeedah, they mention issues of voluntary acts. They talk about a'mal, not just pure Aqeedah. Like for example, Sharh al-Sunnah al-Imam al-Muzani, look at the ending, what he talks about. When he finishes the Aqeedah, he goes and he speaks about issues of actions and some manners and nawafil and voluntary things that a person should do. Salaf, rahimahullah, very holistic. Even if you look at a lot of Aqeedah books now, some of them were actually written in the beginning of a fiqh book. أي نعم. مثلا رسالة ابن أبي زيد القيرواني. Kitab al-Risala is big, it's got fiqh. The beginning is Aqeedah, and then after that, he puts the issues of fiqh after it, showing you that the religion is a holistic. That's why they called it fiqhul akbar and fiqhul asghar. Fiqhul akbar, which is aqeedah, and they call this one fiqhul asghar. Fiqhul asghar, meaning man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqqihhu fi ad-din, encompasses all of that. So my brothers and sisters, when you're saying I am following the Salaf, ana Salafi, I'm a Salafi, or you say I'm in Ahl Sunnah, inshallah, may Allah make us from them. Or you say I'm in Ahl al-Hadith, may Allah make us from them. Or you say I'm inshallah from the Ta'ifatul Mansura or Firqatul Naji, inshallah, may Allah make us from them. If you say that, then make sure that you're striving to follow them ilman wa amalan wa i'tiqadan wa akhlaqan wa da'watan. Follow them in all those aspects. And then you're not picking where you want to follow them in. And that's the sad thing. We find time and time again, we find people who say we're following the Salaf, وَنَحْنُ عَلَى مَنْهَجِ السَّلَفِ وَنَحْنُ عَلَى طَرِيقَةِ السَّلَفِ. They say all of that. And what are they doing? They're selecting one bab min abwab ad-Dīn, one chapter from the chapters of the religion to follow the Salaf in, and nothing else. That's deficiency. That is deficiency, and you're falling short. So you need to pick up yourself, and inshaAllah ta'ala, and look at the other abwab. Look at the what? The other abwab. And the other aspects of what it means to follow the manhaj and the tariqah of the Salaf. Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'ina. Another thing, my brothers and sisters, and this is something that, again, occurs a lot of the times, no one claims and no one is claiming that a person who attributes himself to Salafiyya is going to be ma'soom. A Salafi is not ma'soom. What does that mean? A person who attributes himself to the manhaj of the Salaf is not ma'soom. He's a human being. يُصِيبُ وَيُخْطِئ. He can do something right and he can do it wrong. He's a bashar. That's why Malik ibn Anas said his very profound statement, كُلٌّ يُؤْخَذُ مِنْ قَوْلِهِ وَيُرَدْ إِلَّا صَاحِبَ هَذَا الْقَبْرِ. Everyone's statement is either taken or rejected except the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The one we give complete and utter obedience to any and everything he says is Allah and His Messenger. They're the only two that we take any and everything they say. No ifs, no buts. Yeah? Everybody else, we put it in the scale. We scale it, we weigh it. Is it in line with the Qur'an and the Sunnah? Na'am. If it's not accepted. Now pay attention to this. That means every person who follows manhajus salaf, the way of the Salaf, could be right or wrong. Could be right or wrong. The Shaykh could be right or wrong. That mistake can just be a mistake. It can be sometimes khata, akhta'a, we say. And sometimes we say, no, this is not khata. This is a bid'ah. This is a bid'ah. It's not just a mistake now. It's a bid'ah. So these are also points that we have to reflect on. Is it a mistake or is it a bid'ah that he fell into? What he said. If we now then say, yes, what he said is a bid'ah, then does it now apply to him? لأن ليس كل من وقع في البدعة وقعت البدعة عليه. Not everybody who falls into innovation or says something which is an innovation doesn't mean that he becomes an innovator. Just like if anybody says a statement of kufr, doesn't always mean that he's a kafir. Yes, the statement is kufr, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's a kafir. Or he does an action which is kufr. It doesn't always mean that he's a kafir straight away. Are we all together, brothers? There are shurut and there is mawani'. There are what? Conditions and prerequisites that need to be met. So, these issues of bid'ah and fisq and all of that, there are issues, my brothers and sisters, that need tahrir, and they need vigilance. لأنه wallahi, every single person is going to stand in front of Allah yawm al-qiyamah. Everyone is going to be accounted yawm al-qiyamah. You're going to be interrogated yawm al-qiyamah. لَيْسَ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ تُرْجُمَانٍ. There's not going to be between you and Allah a translator. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to account you for every single thing that you said and did. Some people, they think that they're hurting the person that they're saying he's a mubtadi', or that they're hurting the person who they're calling a fasiq, or that they are hurting. They're not. You're not, especially if the person isn't. You're not hurting them. If you're unjustly doing it, you're not hurting them. If you're oppressing them, you're not hurting them. When in reality you're doing is, you're causing yourself harm. You should, inshaAllah ta'ala, be worried for yourself. And all of you guys are going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of you guys are going to be counted by Allah. وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا وَإِنْ كَانَ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ مِّنْ خَرْدَلٍ أَتَيْنَا بِهَا وَكَفَى بِنَا حَاسِبِينَ. That day the scale will be brought and everybody would be accounted. What they done and said. So a person should be very careful. And sometimes what brothers happens and tends to happen and it reoccurs is that extremism goes both ways. Those who are extreme in making tabdi', another group are extreme in making tabdi' of them. وهكذا. فررت من شيء ووقعت فيه. You ran away from something, you fell into it. You were accusing that group of people to be extreme in tabdi', but guess what? You became an extremist in tabdi' yourself because you consider them to be a mubtadi'. That's why, brothers and sisters, it's important I take this opportunity and I do say, my brothers and sisters, those of you who are on social media, who are using social media, I encourage you all, my brothers and sisters, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything that you type. Wallahi, there are angels that are writing it. And that book will be shown to you Yawm al-Qiyamah, what is written on it. Everything you've written will be shown to you on that scroll, on that book. That book will be given to you. وَوُضِعَ الْكِتَابُ فَتَرَى الْمُجْرِمِينَ مُشْفِقِينَ مِمَّا فِيهِ وَيَقُولُونَ يَا وَيْلَتَنَا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها ووجدوا ما عملوا حاضرا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا. Everything that you said and done is going to be present. It will be said to you, اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. It will be said to you, read that book. It's enough for you accountability. You were typing away in the dark and you were saying all these things to people and you were saying this about other people and you thought defending this person will help you or defending that person is going to help you. But guess what? Now you are reading your book and you're saying, I wish I said astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. I wish I said subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanallah al-azim. I wish I spent my time saying la ilaha illa anta subhanaka. Yani, I should have done those adhkar. Wallahi, I should have spent that time reading Qur'an instead of scrolling through Twitter, scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through her. I wish I was just reading my Qur'an and my wird. I wish. That's what you're going to say. Ya laytani is going to be. مثل وقوفك يوم العرض عريانا. Picture yourself that day when you're naked, you're uncircumcised, you're wearing no shoes. And now the interrogation starts. The King of all kings comes. And he knows everything that is in you. You can't deceive him. يَوْمَ تُبْلَ السَّرَائِرِ. The secrets will be brought out into public. Everybody will see. That day, are you going to be pleased with the social media account that you were using and what you wrote on it? A lot of people spend time trying to defend this sheikh from things that was, who told you to defend? Who asked you to defend? Is that going to benefit you? Is it your benefit? Focus on your Qur'an. Focus on seeking knowledge. Focus on the adhkar that you should be saying day in, day out. Focus on spending time with your family and your loved ones. Your mum might need that time. Most likely she does. Your father needs your khidmah, your service. Your wife, your children need you. That time that you're on social media, you could be spending with your children. You could be educating them. You could be teaching them. You could even be spending that time that you're on social media back and forth with your wife, taking her out for a nice meal, spending quality time with her, walking in the neighborhood with her, having a heart-to-heart conversation with her. That would be much more beneficial for your marriage, for your household, for your life than the social media that you're wasting your time on. Your life is very short, brother. Your life is very short, sister. The Prophet, he said, أَعْمَارُ أُمَّتِي مَا بَيْنَ السِّتِّينَ وَسَبْعِينَ وَقَلِيلٌ مَنْ يَجُوزُ ذَلِكَ. The lifespan of this ummah is 60 to 70. Little go over that. When you understand haqaratul dunya, how low this dunya is, wallahi alladhi la ilaha ghayru, I swear by Allah, the back and forth with individuals will never hurt you. When you realize how low this dunya is and how insignificant it is, and that this dunya is not the real life, there is a life after that. And that's where your eye has to be at. And that's why you shouldn't lose focus for that. Then all of these things become trivial. The importance and the value people are giving it, it drops in your eyes. And that's why it's important for all of us, brothers and sisters, that we have our eye on the target, that we don't lose focus. And it's sad, wallahi, it's even sad that some people would waste their time in the blessed month of Ramadan. They would waste their time on social media. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, this, that, all of that. Wasting their time on social media. Ya akhi, is Ramadan. Shahrun Mubarak, a blessed month. We said that some of the Salaf were in sahat, if it's sahih, that they would stop teaching knowledge and they would turn to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They would turn to the book of Allah. They would stop books of Islamic knowledge for the book of Allah, for the Qur'an. How is it that you're using social media and you're wasting your time? Ask yourself, this month, how many times have you finished the Qur'an? Yani, how many times did you finish the Qur'an? Today is the 17th of the month of Ramadan. How many times did you finish it? And if you didn't finish it, or you finished it maybe twice, don't you think that you're falling short? Isn't it not that you pull your socks and that you say, this is not something I can accept for myself? Ya ikhwa, my brothers, my sisters, today if someone saves his money, doesn't get distracted by buying all these glamorous things and these luxurious things, he doesn't get distracted, and he invests in the right place, everybody will refer to that person as smart, clever. People will look up to him. People will be around him. The reason is because he's got wealth. The reason is because they see that this guy is investing in the right places. This man is saving money. وَهَكَذَا. This is the dunya. And the dunya لَا تَعْدِلُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ جَنَاحَ بَعُوضَةٍ. It doesn't equal to Allah the wing of a mosquito. What about the smart person who is not getting distracted by other people, who is focusing on what he needs to focus on? He knows why he's in this world for. He knows why he was brought here. He knows that the time that he has is very short. He wants to compete with the companions of the Prophet. His aspiration is high because Allah loves. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ مَعَالِيَ الْأُمُورِ وَيَكْرَهُ سَفْسَافَهَا. Allah loves that person who has high aspirations. So he has that high aspiration. He's driven, motivated. He wants to compete with the tabi'een, the atba'u tabi'een. He doesn't want to hold back. That person is wallahi more smarter, more clever than that individual who invests and looks after his money. This person is invested in his akhirah. So brothers and sisters, wallahi, I love you for you guys all what I love for myself. Wallahi, Jannah, inshallah ta'ala, I want every Muslim to enter Jannah. Wallahi, I want it. Wallahi, ana la uridu. I don't want illa al-khayr. I want khair for everybody. Allah knows subhanahu wa ta'ala that when I go to sleep, I try my best not to sleep in my heart having hate for a Muslim. I might disagree with somebody, I might not see eye to eye with somebody, but I try not to have hate for somebody, a Muslim. I want the best, wallah. Wa ana urid, I want for you all, insha'Allah ta'ala, as I want for myself, that we all work towards Jannah and that we focus on that. And that we be from those people Allah is pleased with, Allah loves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cares for. And in order for us to do all of that, brothers and sisters, this social media stuff that a lot of people have now become distracted with is not pleasant. فَسَتَذْكُرُونَ مَا أَقُولُ لَكُمْ وَأُفَوِّضُ أَمْرِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. I have said my bit. And I also believe سَتُبْدِي لَكَ الْأَيَّامُ مَا كُنْتَ جَاهِلًا, that the future and time will tell you what you might be ignorant of. You will know if what you took, the path that you took, was for you or against you. I'm going to stop here, inshaAllah ta'ala. Anything I've said that was wrong or incorrect is from me and shaitan, and Allah and His Messenger are both free from it. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.